It is that autumn countdown that we are so used to here on the Global SimRacing Channel. That all-important run which signals who is in and who is out. It is an important phase of this season in both the Club Championship and the Simify MX5 World Sim Series. But here at round 9, this is where you start counting and saying this is where you have to be at your level best. This is where form becomes incredible, and we start tonight with the Club Series over at Oulton Park, the international layout without any chicanes to work with here this evening. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening as we hit the crunch time of the season. My name's Jake Sperry, and alongside with me, who he has been for the longest time in this series, is Mike Knaus. Daniel Costello is in the director's chair. He's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But we start just a stone's throw outside of what is Britain's music capital of the world in Liverpool, which brought the Beatles into the music stratosphere. This is a circuit where everyone is trying to be Love Me Do, but the question is, who is going to imagine a victory at the end of today? You don't have to imagine how important this circuit is as we take a trip down Penny Lane for our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Oulton Park Circuit. This British track to the southeast of Liverpool is a staple in the UK club racing scene, but has also hosted series as high level as Formula One a few times, at least with a small asterisk next to those events since they were non-championship rounds. The history and the lore of the venue is as unique as the layout itself. But that layout is more than just the international circuit this place is known for. An incredible 8 different versions can be run, but they all range between 1.5 to 2.5 miles in length. It's not exactly a long lap around here. What it lacks in that realm, it more than makes up for in bumps and hills. On top of that, Oulton Park offers some very fast corners, so you certainly won't get bored. Turns like Island Bend, Knickerbrook, and Druids can be utterly fearsome depending on which chicanes are at it. But even the slower corners often involve blind crests or kinked entries, making passing a very difficult prospect. In modern day, the place is mainly visited by touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and Formula 3. But here on iRacing, it's quite popular with the vintage community. Needless to say, this is a track that carries on the British tradition of fast, old-school style circuits that challenge and thrill drivers. It'll no doubt be a blast for both our competitors and fans today.
This is the British version of Lime Rock Park, so to speak. They do not race here on a Sunday due to church laws, very similar to that at Lime Rock Park. But here in Little Budworth, Cheshire, we find ourselves looking at a circuit here, Mike, which has a lot of opportunities. Without the chicanes to play with today, drafting's going to be key out of the Shell Oils corner, up over the hilltop and into Knickerbrook corner.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Cascade's going to be a great look opportunity as well for these drivers to try to line something up on this 12-corner circuit, what is an absolutely amazing track as well. Founded all the way back in 1953. The layout that we use today is pretty much more or less unchanged since, well, 1954. 43 meters of elevation with 141 feet for these drivers to tackle tonight. It is anyone's game in this MX5 World Sim Series.
Yep, so with that, everyone is hoping to get into a position where they can qualify for the World Final, which will be set at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. So that's going to be in the mind of a lot of these drivers. This is how they rank in club. The top 10 drivers from this series are going to qualify themselves onto the back 5 rows of the World Final. We know that Sandoval is not going to drive between now and the end of this season, so his second place, it will not matter with him being second. He won't score the points between now and the end, with now Christian Bisserov 92 clear of Luis Suarez, with Tom Weston 4th and Michael Elliott down in 5th. Lorenz Den Alden making a great push in 6th position, with Thomas Martinez and Carlos Horn, leaving Rene Zegelar and Kalle Rantanen, the last driver inside the top 10. as things stand currently. So there is certainly a case to be made that those drivers who are picking up the points are doing exactly what they need to at this moment in time. But this is an important battle that we got there, because the Nations Cup, Mike, is also starting to heat up.
It really is. The Netherlands currently ahead of Brazil by 43 points, with Bulgaria trailing by 63 from the top. Beyond that, Spain down in 4th position, with the UK in 5th on their home soil tonight, has Portugal behind them down in 6th position, 148 points off the good. South Africa rocking 7th position, 255 points off, with Finland in 8th, United States in 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is going to be Mexico.
Yep, so Mexico finding themselves a way through here as we take a look at the entrance gate to the circuit. In the teams, it is SDC Spirit 14 who have the top at the moment, but with no Sandavara to help them out. Negative Delta by Bueller's might have a chance to walk on back into the team lead, with Positive Delta Motorsports 3rd and 3 Wide Racing now in 4th position. Great charge by the Turismo Racing team. They could certainly make a late charge and go up through the order. They're 5th, with Sweat Sim Racing in 6th, ahead of Rosso Esports in 7th. Then it's 1P Motorsport, GTD Racing, and SRL, who find themselves then in the 10th position and hoping for a way to clamber up through the order. But this is the Simify MX5 World Sim Series, and it's the club series for a reason. They will have qualifying, which is currently being conducted, which is 10 minutes long, hot lap qualifying, or hot shot qualifying. You just get the 1 lap to set to put your time in on the board. But at round 9 of 10 here, Mike, seeded splits, they'll have a lot to work with here today, over 25 minutes worth of racing.
Yeah, they certainly were. With a fixed setup and a spare car available if anybody does have any incidents, this penultimate round is going to be very crucial for some of these drivers. And Oulton Park is going to be a very, very important qualifying session as well. Overtaking, relatively difficult on this circuit, plus without the chicanes, this is going to allow a bit more momentum, which will add a bit more into the meat and potatoes for the racing tonight. But all in all, it is going to be really down to these drivers on their 1 lap to put down the absolute best they can to set themselves up to take the gold tonight.
Yeah, they want victory, they want points, and they want to guarantee their place. And that's going to be important here around this wonderful Cheshire circuit that they all look to try and get themselves sorted. Who will be Alice in Wonderland, and who is going to be late to the Mad Hatter's Tea Party? That will be the questions that will be asked. Currently focusing here with your driver in number 1 in the championship, Christian Bisserov, who finds himself located then at the front of this field, and really hoping that his time is going to be the benchmark that everyone else follows. Out of Knickerbrook Corner and up the hill, past the Clay Tower, which is there. It's a water tower on the left-hand side, and then that small pivot over to the left, leading to Druid's Corner, a corner which you have to be very committed on entry, but it's very easy to run wide on the exit, and Bisserov had to be very cautious about how much curb he had to take on that outside line. He could have very easily have found himself wrong place, wrong time, and that could have pretty much spelt the end for his run if he was not too careful. Bisserov over towards the line, and he will not get a time in because he went off at Druids. Championship leader on the back foot. Luis Suarez is only just getting into server now as Eric Kierov sets the fastest time as a driver who is looking at the top 10, a 42.8, a full 1.2 seconds clear of the rest of the field.
Yeah, and very unfortunate there for Christian Bisserov, our championship leader. And this is what I was talking about, qualifying, such an important mark, and these drivers pushing the limits. There is no banker lap for these drivers to set. It is a 1-lap send, and Armin here is going to be trying to do exactly that. Time to beat is a 142.8. Oh, Odin, 30 thousandths off of pole position. The number 5 in the championship is really biting at the heels right now of Kieros.
That's 3 thousandths of a second for Lorenz Den Ouden. He could not get much closer than that with Mackenzie Mann on the mix as well. Armin Schlermer trying to find a time, and so too is Pedro Marimon, who is hoping that his time's going to go through. Now, this is one of the tougher circuits out there over the course of a series that you look at for off-track limit incidents. It's one of the older circuits out there on the iRacing service here, and it's not the sort of track where it's a case of you have to have all four wheels off the circuit. This is more of a track you look at, Mike, that you have to have half the car off the circuit for an incident point to be played, as right now you can see the eyes which are there on the helmet of Pedro Marimon staring into Knickerbrook corner.
And try to chuck it into what normally would be the chicane now, up the hill towards the water tower. This long left-hander, which normally you blink and you miss it in a GT car. Here in the MX5s, almost looks like we're in slow motion. Through Druids we go, nice and tidy, late on the accelerator there, but just punch it as soon as you're able to. Now, Lodge Corner and Deer Leap are left. Marimon into the penultimate corner. What is it going to be as we begin the descent down the hill just to go right back up to the top here and to the line? Pedro Marimon currently sitting in 10th, well, currently without a time, looking to set it is going to be a no. Yes, it is. Wait, no time. Pedro
Marimon?
Third.
It's third. He's 4 tenths off, so 43.2 there, Mike. Good enough for him to jump up. Schlermer currently on a lap. We are still waiting for David Geddes to go out there and set a time. Luis Suarez as well. Armanula Bacchus, another one who is out there, and so too Rene Zegelar. So Schlermer, who is on his flying lap, 173 kilometers an hour, diving onto the brakes in the number 29 car and looking to drop down then through and over the Deer Leap, over towards the line, out to the lodge, and then over the line. That's a 43.4, so that will be second row of the grid currently in fourth position overall. Zegelar will be next over towards the line in the 008 as he now crests up over at the top of the hill and hopes that his run into Druids is going to be one full of sunshine and happiness.
Nice and on the limit there, hits the apex just beautifully and punches the accelerator, which is almost flat out the entire time. These cars ever so based on momentum. You lose it and you will have an issue trying to find it once more as we go now down the hill towards Deer Leap. Punch the throttle up the hill now to the line. Rene Zegler for the Netherlands. What is it going to be as we come to the timing lines there? And it looks like that is going to be enough for fourth position for the number 8.
Yeah, it drops Armin Schlermer down onto the third row, so not necessarily ideal. We've got Armanula Bacchus currently out there for South Africa on a flying lap. Luis Suarez in the number 002 is currently out there looking for a flying lap at the moment, and so too is David Geddes. They must get their time in within the 10 minutes. There should be no worries about that. Suarez now making his run up Clay Hill after Knickerbrook, a corner named because when they were building the circuit and trying to work out where they were going to put the track, they found a pair of knickers in the brook down there at that corner, which hence means the name is Knickerbrook. Through Druid's corner, and now looking to make that charge one more time over towards the lodge and hoping that this is going to be a lap which is there for Luis Suarez that takes full advantage of Christian Bisserov not getting what he wants. David Geddes goes 7th quickest on a 43.9. Luis Suarez to the line, doesn't get the lap time to count either. A huge missed opportunity for him in qualifying. Bacchus now the only driver who can maybe find a way to put himself up to the pointy end of the field. Kieroth from Den Ouden. We'll see what Bacchus does over the line, and he won't find a time either. A day which is pretty much personified by 7 drivers failing to find a time. Eric Kieroth has stolen the pole.
He has done that indeed. There's still a few more drivers I think they need to finish their lap here, but Eric Kieroth. Oh, it is? Okay, yeah, Eric Kier out there. Dominance is being shown, and we're going to have quite the exciting last to first challenge from not just one, but as you mentioned, 7 drivers that otherwise would be expecting to be finding themselves quite a bit up. Christian Bisserov, we mentioned Luis Suarez as well. 2 drivers that you expect at the pointy end of the spear, but this time around, they're all the way down at the bottom, and they're going to have to work their way all the way through every single one of these MX5 cars.
They certainly will. 25 minutes to do so on the iRacing default baseline setup, not the advanced baseline setup, but the rookie baseline setup that's there. This, of course, will take us to the Simify starting grid. Simify, it is your one-stop shop for all of your sim racing gear. You can choose from iconic brands and mix and match for the best way to get your leg up on the competition. Simify ships worldwide, and they also have 2 sim racing centres, one based in the heart of Spain in Madrid and one in the heart of Catalonian, Spain in Barcelona, and that is dedicated to improving your sim racing skills. You can head to www.simify.com/MX5WSS. Check out the link in the description right now to get your discount applied automatically on your sim racing purchases today. It is the 013 car that's on the pole position. Eric Kieroth then putting himself there for Turismo on the pole. 3,000s clear of Lorenz Den Ouden with Pedro Marimon and Rene Zegelaar on the second row. Armin Schlermer will go with Mackenzie Mann as David Geddes and Martin Schmidt house row forward. Tom Weston 9th and Sir Alan Toon in 10th.
Moving on to 11th there, we have Kalle Rattanen taking home the best of the rest for now, as we have behind him Bertelis, as well as Andre Luigi in 13th, with Thomas Martinez 14th quickest. Christian Bissarov, no time on the board. Every driver beyond 13th, no time on the board. Luis Suarez 16th. Alman Bacchus, no time for 17th. David Mitchells 18th with no time. And last but not least is going to be Sergio Dorate at the bottom of the pack in 19th position with no time.
All those drivers, 13th back to 19th, are split by their official iRating out there, which means that they've got a lot of work to do to try and claw themselves further forward. 25 minutes is set on the clock. The lights procedure will now start. Kieroth, Den Ouden and Marimon at the front. Green flag in the air, and we are underway from Oulton Park. And as everybody forms into line, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all they're getting what they want off of the start. They head into Old Hall Corner with a bit of 3 wide there with the GTD cars who have turned each other around at the opening corner. Both there in trouble is David Geddes, and also you got Duarte in trouble, and Luis Suarez has been caught up in lap 1 drama, turn 1 drama on top of that.
There's a knife fight in a phone booth early on, and these drivers trying to settle who goes where, as Luis Suarez side by side there briefly with the car behind. That's going to be David Geddes, unfortunately. And look at the kerfuffle that continues up ahead as we're looking at Andre Luigi trying to go around the outside here, down towards the Shell Oil Bend. There's a car stranded that's going to have to rejoin at some point, and they need to find, Mackenzie Mann here needs to find a safe window to do so. Cars all flying by, and Mackenzie Mann slots himself all the way back down in 14th position. Potentially one more here is going to be lost.
Yeah, troublesome for him up the top of the hill. Christian Bissarov, what a start he's had, because he'll be up 8 places in the first half a lap if he can get by. Sir Alan Toon, full position, down on the brakes into Knickerbrook. He gets the pass sorted, and Bissarov on a tear. Zegelaar under pressure now as Tom Weston tries to find his way through in the early goings, and he can't quite get there at Druids Corner. This is a national circuit with a national feel, and there's a little push wide off of the exit of Druids there from Rene Zegelaar. He'll have to be a little bit careful behind, because they've also got the likes there. Sorry, that's Armin Schlermer doing the most of the defending, and around the outside, Tom Weston holding there, and Rene Zegelaar having to lose out the 2 teammates that are there. Kieroth, your leader after the opening lap. Marimon has jumped up to second and out and third. GSRC replay then on screen. This is what happened to David Geddes, searching down the inside the room there. And rule 1 of sim racing, and really rule 1 of racing as well, Mike, do not hit your teammates.
Yes, indeed. And then an incident happening behind them seemed to be completely separate and really nothing to do with what had happened there. 3 wide there briefly, as everyone is going to settle it. Still 2 wide, though, for Sir Alan Toon, alongside what looks to be Bertelis. And there's contact and chaos and flying cars behind. Big damage on the front end there of Alman Bacchus. Rejoins the circuit with enough midair time to be served wine on that flight.
That was Andre Luigi tagging Wietse Bertels. Armanula Bacchus got caught up, and so too did Martin Schmidt. Second time the GTD car has been caught up in it. So Alan Toon in the work car by Result Machine works his way further forward then as he goes on, but that was not the way that they wanted the race to go, and Andre Luigi with that heavy hit retires from the race and choosing not to take further part of it out there at this point. Top three, though, clear at the moment, and they're trying to bring three along with it. We'll take a replay of this. It's at the start. This is Luis Suarez, so he scares himself there with Christian Bisserov, and that completely throws the car loose. He tags one of the 1P cars, that's the O2 machine, which is there on the side. So he has tagged, I believe that would have been David Mitchell, the 012. So very much not what was ideal, but minimal contact and damage there for him out there on circuit. And he's still pushing here as the Scotsman. And David Mitchell, he is battling with Suarez for place.
Yeah, Suarez needs these positions, though, to be fair, as they have Sandoval ahead of them in the championship, who we know, unfortunately, sustained an injury and is no longer with us in this championship. Sandoval, though, still could potentially hold the places of Luis Suarez. Isn't careful and needing to really deliver the best results right now. It's a small margin of points between them, but in this penultimate round, anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. And, well, Jake, we've kind of seen that already tonight.
Yeah, we really have, and it's all about finding what you can as Suarez scythes his way through on Sergio Duarte, his three-wide racing teammate, and through also goes David Mitchell following in tow. They're really going to have to work through the order. Western in 5th position. Look at how it is stacking up behind Pedro Marimon. Kierov now has broken to 1.2 seconds at the front of the field, and this clay hill is so, this hilltop is so important. The run to Knickerbrook is the main place to get a pass, and is the main place actually on a circuit which is very technical and full of corners to get a draft.
Yeah, and now towards the Druids corner, where you're going to see a lot of the inside moves. But if you go for the inside there, you need to be ever so careful not to run wide. The dip in the track can really unsettle your machine. We're about to see it here as you go on through the long right-hander. It's hard to tell, but there is that little bit of the moment there. Pedro Marimon under threat now from Denhouden. Lawrence has the inside line for the final few corners. This should be signed, sealed, and delivered, and it looks like it is going to be Pedro Marimon up into second, and that's going to be Schlomer trying to follow him on through. Lawrence Denhouden caught sleeping at the wheel. Almost three wide, but it's going to get a big box out there from Lawrence Denhouden onto Schlomer, not allowing this action, but we're 2x2 Noah's Ark formation heading on to the next lap.
And wide goes Pedro Marimon. He'll drop 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Nowhere to go. Denhouden throwing all the blocks in at the basement of what is some great running. You got Tom Weston holding himself up into third. Schlermer now fourth. Zegelar fifth and Marimon sixth. And they've just allowed Christian Bisserov on the train.
It certainly has right now. Christian Bisserov driving like the number 1 seat next to his name. He is absolutely throwing this car around the circuit, just like Tom Weston is right now as we jump on board with him. But he is in a bit of an uncomfortable sandwich. Schlomer, we've seen the aggressive nature that they can posture right now. And Lawrence Denhouden almost being a bit of a thorn in the side for our British driver out on circuit.
Yeah, Tom Weston's trying to make some progress here, but Denhouden, holding the middle of the road, is trying to throw himself in the right position. Look at how close they go, side by side to Knickerbrook, trying to get a big up and under the block. Thrown through the middle of the corner. Nothing that could be done there. Right idea by Tom Weston. Didn't have enough room to make it happen. It will close on in as Schlermer gets close. And René Zegelar starts thinking about where he looks. Try and make a move. And Bisserov behind's just snuck away through on Pedro Marimon at Druid. So now he's starting to make some progress. Great unlock by Tom Weston now. Diving through the trees and passing the car park on the inside of the circuit into the Lodge corner. Perfectly executed. And that puts him in a wonderful position there. Tom Weston up to second.
Denhouden almost getting a bit of a slow run out of the corner. You can see covers the inside very aggressively. That's Christian Bisserov as well behind these two drivers. And the more squabbling that goes on here, the more advantage that Bisserov's going to have. He gets by René Zegelar without even much of a thought. Next up the road is going to be Schlomer, and he is going to make himself known in this conversation sooner rather than later.
It's just taken 7.5 minutes of great racing for Christian Bisserov to jump from 15th on the grid inside the top 5. Next up will be Schlermer on his list trying to chase. There is Kalle Rantanen, who is there trying to work his way forward, and he'll look around, and in fact he's going to preserve as much of a finish as he can, because through goes Duarte and David Mitchell. Rantanen going surprisingly slow, and I think just trying to prioritise those finishes.
Yeah, it certainly is right now. To finish first you have to finish, but honestly, I don't think first place is in the mind there of Kalle Rantanen right now. Just maximize the results and the amount of points that you can get to lock yourself into that Laguna Seca race. That's really what's going to be on Rantanen's mind for the time being. And Lawrence Den Ouden, I'd say a similar situation here.
Yeah, Lorenz Den Ouden is a driver who is looking, he's inside that top 10. He is looking to try and gain as many places up the order as he can, because you've got to remember as well here, Mike, it's not just that you book your ticket there. There's no qualifying at the World Final. Your championship position gives you your grid slot. It's a ticket, an absolute golden ticket. Man him on! Down the inside at the lodge, down the hill, very easy to spin, and you get this long launch up the hill. Zegler holds.
Yeah, for right now, Zegler does defend, but is this the writing on the walls? Is there certainly, I think, blood in the water? It's the similar situation for Bisserov here. He is all over the back of Schlomer like a license plate right now. And as they go on down the Cascades and the run towards Shell Oil, Christian Bisserov is already in the mirror. He's already going for the dive onto the grass pass, and he makes it stick with both hands.
Yeah, and Christian Bisserov is not going to take no for an answer coming through at the Cascades corner, and looking around, he just commanded the center of the road, took the apex away and said, Armin, that is mine, no doubts about it. You are not going to give up and give me that position without a fight, and that is just how quickly I can take it away from you. He'll look at Den Ouden, he'll look at Tom Weston, they'll look at 3.4 seconds at the front, and they'll look behind at Luis Suarez, who has finally got through on Sir Alan Toon. That puts him now up inside the top 10.
And that really is helpful for Luis Suarez right now, because Sir Alan Toon's being a bit of a bottleneck as we tune up here with Pedro Marimon, who is trying to defend, it seems, around the outside. He is just blocking to the best of his ability right now. Rene Zegler going for the long way around once more, carrying all that momentum, almost a hip check at the apex, but not going to find it. And Rene Zegler has to settle in and try once more. Is it going to be the penultimate corner? Is it going to be the first corner, or through Cascades? We're going to have to find out. Christian Bisserov, he's found the penultimate corner, and he lines one up.
Well, it's going to be earliest convenience for Christian Bisserov, because he knows that time is of the essence, as he ran through on that lap a 1:42.8 that he was able to do. That was 2/10 quicker than Eric Kierov, who leads this race on a 43 flat on his own. 43 flat for Tom Weston, and look at the slipstream as they head through the avenue over towards the Cascades, and once again, Bisserov close but not enough.
Not enough just yet, but here's the run down towards Shell Oil. He's in the slipstream, which, to be fair with these MX5s, isn't the most effective, but still going to be using a bit of bump drafting here, almost getting out of shape, lifted the throttle now, and as you approach the braking zone, is he going to send it to the inside? He thinks about it, but he's just selling the dummy right now, getting into the head of Tom Weston. And Tom, well, you got to wake up pretty early in the morning to get the best of him, and it seems Bisserov, he might have woke up at about 3 a.m., fully alongside right now. Tom Weston needs to defend, but it's going to be the unfavorable line. Christian Bisserov, I think 10 times out of 10, he should be able to line this one up, and it looks like he's gone before the braking zone.
He has, and Den Ouden might just follow through. Contact between the pair, sliding through, room given. Somehow Weston holds. Armin Schlermer, cookies, thank you very much. I'll put my hand in the cookie jar, steal a cookie, and steal a place. That is pretty much what you want. Den Ouden, not what he wanted, was looking at maybe getting into third place. He's now back into fifth, but Bisserov now into second position with that move, using the inside line at the Shell Oil's corner, the camber that was needed to move up to the point. Kierov now is a marked man in the Turismo car, leading the field. Massive amounts of support for him then here today as we get a look out on that. So he's got all of the fans behind him trying to push him forward, but Christian Bisserov wants to chase down that gap ASAP.
Yeah, and he's got the clear air ahead of him, and Eric Kierov, he's tried to drop this pack like a hot potato as much as he can, but only 4.5 seconds. And I say only because it's Christian Bisserov that we're talking about here, a man with extremely rapid pace. And Eric Kierov, he knows the man that he's going to be battling here, but Eric also has to keep in mind he's sitting in 13th right now. He needs to find himself in the top 10. So do you prioritize points or do you prioritize track position? That, well, we're going to find out.
It's a dance, and that's Luis Suarez a mile off the road. How has he found himself there? That is a question that's going to be asked over and over again. He's had a massive off down there at the Cascades, and he's been threatening to go off the circuit a couple of times. I think he got heavy over the curb, had a massive tank slapper, and well, this is what you get out of the national C-class circuit in the world of FIA grading, a Category 3, because there was grass for days that he could go mowing.
Oh, he was on a picnic there briefly, which this is not quite the time nor the place to be finding yourself at a picnic, despite the fact that I would love to be at a lovely Sunday afternoon picnic here at Oulton. But you did mention at the top of the broadcast, real-life racing can't really happen here.
Yeah, and you've got to keep an eye on why there is such great racing and why these drivers are looking at the national scene in terms of why this is a great racetrack, because it does test all of the characteristics of these drivers, and you don't have time to think about it. We'll take a look on the GSRC replay. So hits the curb on the inside, that unsettles the car, tries to find the limit of grip, overcorrects, and then has to go sliding through the grass there, and very much finds himself in no man's land with that issue. Martinez running a little bit wide in the SDC Spirit 14 009 car out there. Rene Zegelar is finding himself close, but he is just that close to losing that 7th place, and Spirit 14 really do need to gain these places because they know they're trying to mitigate the points haul being made by Christian Bisserov there for negative delta by Bueller's. Remember how close that championship battle is. David Mitchell finding himself in a 4-pack challenge. Alan Toon is having a wonderful drive, keeping everyone at bay. Martin Schmidt looking over towards the inside. He can't quite get there. Mitchell with a slingshot now through the lakeside bend towards Shell Oils, but can't quite get what he wants because pushing through the corner is Martin Schmidt like he's at Martinsville.
Yeah, Schmidt there really giving him the squeeze on this center as Mitchell's wanted the inside line, but he was not getting any daylight whatsoever. David Geddes here in a great position, in my opinion, to capitalize on this scrapping, as we're going to see side-by-side action up ahead between Schmidt and Toon as they go down what through normally would be the chicane, but into the heavy braking right-hander now, up the hill once more, and we're really just keeping an eye on the likes of Mitchell's because you can see the aggressive posture that he's taking. He's found the inside line for the water tower, but that's going to turn to the Outford Druids. Has to be fully ahead if you want to make that overtake.
Brave on the entry by Sir Alan Toon. A bit of blinking there by David Mitchell. He can't quite pick up the run. Wonderful commitment by Alan as he looks to hold, and watch out on the brakes because close goes the Canadian David Geddes as he now tries to find a way into mix, but ultimately they will run single file and off the exit. Thank you very much. A comfy pass for David Geddes as he makes the pass and gains the extra position. Schlermer now and Den Ouden have fallen off the pace set by Bisserov and Weston. Those two are going out Kierov hunting out there at this point, but Den Ouden holding what he wants, and his oldest time.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Eric Kiero and Eric Bisserov rivalry that's been going on right now, but Kieros is still 4.5 seconds. In fact, has now made that a 5th second for good measure. And continuing to climb. So Eric Kieros has no intention of slowing up right now, and he wants to just walk away from Christian Bisserov and Tom Weston.
Yeah, he definitely wants to try and wander away, and that gap up at 5 seconds currently is exactly what the doctor has been ordering for the Turismo car. Weston hunting on the back of Christian Bisserov, hoping that he can find a way through, and with just 8 minutes to go, I think this is going to be a case of these drivers here, 2nd and 3rd, not looking at the victory, but more rather looking at, well, what can we find here in our race for 2nd and 3rd. And I think Tom Weston has everything to prove by saying, I can go toe-to-toe with your leader of the championship, the Bulgarian Christian Bisserov.
Yeah, certainly will, but I think the real talk is going to be Eric Kieros, who's going to bring home so many points to his name and maybe secure himself into the top 10, at least heading into the final race next month. that certainly will spice things up just a little bit in terms of the numbers. Tom Weston, though, he is trying to make his presence firmly known as well as one of these top 10 drivers. And this is that conversation that we're going to be bringing up a lot, because it is every position matters at the end of the day for these points, and it could come down to the absolute wire for some of these, especially Pedro Marimon sitting around 10th, and the likes of Ratanen in 11th, and a big send and a half from Tom Weston round the outside. Gets a little bit out of shape there, does Bissarov, but either way, continuing the scrap now as they go alongside her. Den Ouden tries for the outside line, but Weston, he keeps his foot in it.
Bumping, they are bumping on the hilltop, looking now at Knickerbrook, and Bissarov's trying to take an angle. They don't want to budge. Neither of them want to budge to Knickerbrook. Weston around the outside, there's the contact. Bissarov spins, two drivers who wouldn't give an inch, and one loses out a whole acre.
Yeah, very disappointing for Christian Bissarov. Down to 6th position. I was going to say 5th. Make that a 7th. And heck, why not an 8th for good measure here, as we're going to see Thomas Martinez get around the outside as well. And all of that hard work that Christian Bissarov has done for the past 20 minutes has ended in tears, and this is how. As he locks... Wait, that was David Geddes, who's had a similar incident at the same time.
Yeah, that was over at the Lodge. Found himself with damage on the front of his GTD car. Not the best rejoin in the world. And thump goes the 3-wide Racing 002 of, believe it or not, Luis Suarez, who cannot catch a break. But Bissarov now has fallen down the order. He's now back to 8th place. Has to do it all over again in the final 5 minutes. Zegelar looking with Pedro Marimon in front. SDC Spirit 14 will be smiling at the work Tom Weston tried to do to gain that place. It now has meant that Lorenz Den Ouden has caught back up in the race on for second, but Bissarov is going to be flying with the red cape. They're very much like a rampaging bull on his next charge. No look then from Zegelar against Marimon. He thought about it through Lakeside, down into Shell Oils, throwing it into the apex there. Bissarov slices and dices.
He knows the pace that he has with that MX5 car, and seeing red right now, you mention a bull, and his horns are going to be firmly pointing in the direction right now of the cars in front. Rene Zegler, the next target right now for Christian Bissarov, who's going to be heading down towards the end here of the long back straight. Will we see a dive bomb? No. But will we see the move into Druids? It's a little bit out of shape for the 008, but not quite enough, it seems. Rene Zegler needs to park it in the center of the track, but he complies over to the left. That's going to give the gap to Christian Bissarov, and he isn't going to waste any time. Goes right down to the inside. If there is a gap, Bissarov, you know, is going to take it.
Yeah, so Christian Bissarov is not going to wait very long. That's the way that he's driven. He's through on Rene Zegler and has moved up an extra place. He did that, of course, at Druids Corner, and now over the top of the hill, he'll be thinking, well, can I make Old Hall Corner mine out there, as Pedro Marimon sits and waits and gives as much as he can through the opening corner, and he really attacks the inside of the opening section of track, hoping to get that launch down the hill through the avenue. He's already done it once at the Cascades. He'll look to try and do it again as he runs into the corner, takes control, and makes sure that Pedro Marimon can only give chase in the context of this one. Wonderful stuff by Christian Bissarov, back through again.
Yeah, and he's going to have to do it once more to the cars in front. Schlomer and Den Ouden, two of his rivals that we know he has beat in the past, but can he do it with 3.5 minutes left? There is Den Ouden, currently in a fight right now with Tom Weston. These two maybe need to just kind of put their differences aside right now and allow them to run away with this and just secure their podium efforts. But if they keep this battling up, Schlomer is going to come into the equation here soon enough, and with a three-way fight, well, it'll certainly turn into a four-way fight with Bissarov back on the coin, trying to get P2.
But old Father Time is knocking on the door. They've got a little under 3 minutes worth of racing to go. If they want to get it sorted, that'll be 2 laps worth of racing, as David Mitchell up over the top of the hill now starts thinking about Sergio Duarte, who is trying to move forward and up into 11th. Duarte with the inside line at Knickerbrook goes bouncing over the inside curve at the adjointment of the Hislop chicane and gets the pass done in the 3-wide Racing Machine. over David Mitchell's blinking 1P Motorsport car, which is trying to find itself any way of gaining an extra position or two out there on track. They remain as they are. That's a good drive off for the exit, I believe. That's going to be Kalle Rantanen, who is trying to get himself into play. Rantanen can't quite get close enough. Big lunge on the brakes by Duarte, not by Duarte, but by Rantanen, and ultimately he overcooks it, and back on through is going to go David Mitchell.
David Mitchell says, thank you very much for that one, and a free position is a free position. Kalle Rantanen going to be kicking themselves, unfortunately, but as we look further up the field to Thomas Martinez, he is going for the move onto the outside there, at least trying to line one up, make the driver ahead there think. That's going to be Rene Zeglar, who is going to be thinking quite a lot, as their head needs to be on a swivel right now. The Spanish driver here putting the pressure on firmly at this stage of the race as they get ready here to begin what is going to be their final lap.
Yeah, and so they'll be looking at that next, which will be a lap and a half to go from this point. Martinez giving chase, but keep an eye on second and third, because that gap is really close. Up the Clay Tower, up Clay Hill and past the water tower, and it's Den Oulton looking left, looking right, up, down, left, right, slantways, every way he can in the great glass elevator. There is no button that allows him overtake out there at the moment in his Miata, hoping that there is an opportunity to find his pass. Lorenz Den Oulton and Tom Weston very close together in the championship, but Tom Weston's consistency, he's finally waking up to realise that heading to the final lap, he's got a chance to hold this, Mike.
He's got one more trip around the circuit, 2.6 miles if he wants to take this position, and Eric Quiros really hasn't had much of a contention. In fact, by the way, we have a race leader in case anyone was curious. It is Eric Quiros. He has been utterly dominant. We'll stick with the fight, though, with Lawrence Den Oulton and Tom Weston. These two undecided as they get the run now to the exit of Cascades, all the way down to Shell Oil Corner. Den Oulton, what is he going to do?
Oh, look at this. They're blocking. Tom Weston, egregious in the amount of blocking that he had there, weaving all over the straight, trying to shake off Lorenz Den Oulton. If you're going to drive like that, he's asking to be turned there by the 005, which is there sat behind. Weston is pulling every trick in the book out, trying to find his survival, and he's just about managing it. Whereas behind that, Pedro Manamon hasn't given up either to Christian Bisserov as Quiros runs through Knickerbrook corner and trying to get what he can and get it absolutely to a T at this moment in time. He has been dominant at the front of this field. He has driven away on pure pace from the leading drivers in this field, and when drama befell behind, he went, what drama? This has been my race from start to finish. He goes under the bridge that enters the circuit, that enters the paddock, and through now at the lodge, dropping down the hill and back up again. Eric Quiros is trying to make a statement. I will book my seat as late as I can. Quiros takes victory for Turismo here, and he takes a massive accident to finish as well. Weston holds on against Den Oulton here at Oulton Park, and Bisserov will get inside the top 5 on his recovery to the line.
Incredible effort there from Bisserov. Medamon takes home 6th with Rene Zeglar in 7th. Thomas Martinez in 8th with Smith behind in 9th. And rounding out your top 10 is going to be Sir Alan Toon with a great drive through most of these drivers and some incredible battling, Jake, that we've seen so far. And one more race to come. That's going to be Spa-Francorchamps.
It will do when we get to it. The last car that is heading to the line will be Armanula Bacchus, Wietse Bertels, David Geddes and Armanula Bacchus are going to be the 3 drivers that need to find their finishes out there at this point, as they have had a long day that is only personified to go even longer with the fact that they haven't been lapped over the course of this race, and they will make their way over towards the line. Tough day for Wietse Bertels though, Mike. He got caught up in the incident earlier on, the 4-car incident that really put him back in the context of this race.
Yeah, very unfortunate, and quite a few drivers getting caught up early. Andre Luigi as well as Luis Suarez, Mackenzie Mann with a DNF as well. Very gutting finishes for some of the very heavy hitters that you would be expecting to finish in the top 3, in the top 5, and certainly the top 10, but tonight, we don't see that.
Well, let's get confirmation of race result as Eric Quiros picks up the win and does so by a margin of 7.5 seconds over the line. Lorenz Den Ouden couldn't quite manage a way past the weaving Tom Weston there in second. Armin Schlermer would finish off in fourth, ahead of Christian Bisserov, the championship leader, who had to come back from a poor qualifying and a bit of contact with Weston into that fifth place. Pedro Maramon would finish sixth, with Rene Zegelar seventh, and Thomas Martinez in eighth, 3/10 between sixth and eighth over the line, as Martin Schmidt would finish off in ninth, with Sir Alan Toon picking up a very well-deserved top 10 finish, exactly where he started.
And Sergio Duarte on to 11th for the rest of these drivers. David Mitchell's taking home 12th position by 3/10 off the back there of P11. Kalle Raatanen, a hard race for Kalle, but still 13th position. Nothing to shake a stick at for currently sitting 11th in the championship. Bertzel in P14 with David Geddes 15th. Alman Bacchus in 16th for the number 22 Mackenzie Mann. 17th, Luis Suarez in 18th, and an F.
Yep, so that will be that for those drivers at the moment here from Oulton Park. We will, of course, have to jump over the English Channel here, ladies and gentlemen, and head our way over towards the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. Stay with us here at the Global Sim Racing Channel in the Simify MX5 World Sim Series. We're getting full series action coming to you in just a few moments' time. We will see you at Spa. Well, it has been a case when it has come to this series that magic certainly seems to wrap its fingers around this championship. At every single juncture of this series, it takes an element of brilliance from the best in the world to try and get this MX5 around. This is a fabled circuit which has seen it all before, time after time after time. This is the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, possibly the greatest all-around circuit for every single type of racing that you have ever seen. 7 kilometers and 4 added meters worth of track, and there will be 25 minutes to decide who will be at the highest echelon, heading with 1 round of regular season running to go before the world final, of course, at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Once more, it's Jake Sperry here alongside with Mike Naus, with, of course, Daniel Costello and Dougie Beard, who are in the director's chair and on cameras, respectively, as we get ourselves situated to a track beyond tracks, a gold standard when it comes to excitement, and a circuit which breaks the rules because it is so brilliant. Let's take a look here in the Belgian Ardennes at what makes this track so special with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round.
A circuit which used to be a monster and now is shrunk down, is still exactly the same amount of monster as it used to be. A circuit beyond circuits, iconic to the last here, Mike.
It certainly is. 4.3 miles, 7 kilometers, or as an American, and I cannot measure in distance, it is 1,796 MX5s long. 19 corners at this wonderful circuit founded back in 1921. 9 corners to the right and 10 of them to the left with a whopping 103 meters, that's 337 feet of elevation. Most of that happening down the long Kemmel Straight and the run to Lacombe, which is about over half a mile, about 0.65 of a mile long, or 1 kilometer, just about longer than that, down to the Lacombe and Malmedy. And this track, of course, is so big and used to be so big that it stretches across 3 different municipalities.
I tell you what, trust you, Mike, to find anything but metric to go and measure in. It's the way, isn't it?
Absolutely so. It's the American way, Jake.
It certainly is. Let's talk Title Town and who is in the right place at the right time, because for the moment it is Jason Cooper who will be the happiest bunny at the moment. 1,266 with Ade Koba and Jack Veazey on the chase. Nuno Ferreira moves into 4th with Jaume Dalmas's 5th. Dylan Da Costa and Per Sandberg find themselves 6th and 7th. With Adnan Grosdanic moving down to 8th, it's Philip Scriffignano who's 9th, and Nicholas Goebel moving himself into the top 10 of the championship. They'll be looking at those for the front 5 rows of the championship overall. But there are a lot of battlegrounds, and the Nations Cup is looking more and more like it's in favor of Spain.
Yeah, Spain 187 points to the good over Germany, who's sitting down in 2nd place right now. United Kingdom down in 3rd, 238 points respectively, with just 10 points separating them and the United States. The Netherlands a bit more off that mark. They're about 553 points down, with France not too far behind either. Belgium on its home soil tonight down in 7th position, with Portugal in 8th. Brazil coming home in 9th right now, and rounding out your top 10 is Sweden.
Yep, so Sweden looking to try and find a way to jump up forward and gain what they can from it in the battle of the teams. It has been 5-Star Motorsport on the top as MX5 Deep Dive look to give the chase. Zenith Esports find themselves in 3rd ahead of SimRace Sweden Esports, along with SDC Spirit 14 inside of the top 5. Sweat Sim Racing hold themselves in 6th ahead of the organisation. BB1 Sim Racing in 8th ahead of SimTech Racing. And of course, 1 point between 7th and 8th. And 3G Racing looking for 5G results as they find themselves in 10th position, looking to give the chase. But for those who are just stumbling across us here with the Simify MX5 World Sim Series for the first time, let's talk about what makes this so important, Mike, and how hard they have to battle.
Indeed, this is the penultimate round of the Simify MX5 World Sim Series, and we are getting ready to get the conclusion down to Laguna Seca, which will be on December 22nd. We have a 25-minute race ahead of us here in this seated split with a fixed setup, and spare car is, of course, available if it is going to be needed. However, this is Spa. I'm certainly hoping we don't see that. This is going to be a bit less of a quali track. We just came from Oulton Park, of course. We're qualifying extremely important in Spa. This is a real racer's track, Jake.
Oh, this is absolutely a brilliant racer's track, and it is one where you need to be thinking above anything else. This used to be a street circuit, believe it or not, all the way up until 2007, where it then transformed into its own purpose-built racetrack. You still had the road markings that were on there as you ran up the hill through Eau Rouge, Radion, and along the Kemmel Strait, which actually connected down the towns, or the small towns of Spa-Francorchamps together, which sits on the road, of course, of the fabled cycling classic, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Jason Cooper finding himself then with the number 2 machine at this moment in time, and he is hoping that he can do what he can out there to prove that he is top dollar. We saw how great last time out 5-Star Motorsports were. The issue that they ran into over the course of the racing, Mike, was a very simple one. Adecoba was not El Capitan, he was El Dios de las Carreras Sim. He was the god of sim racing.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, Adecoba is not, or no, excuse me, Adecoba, what am I talking about? He's right in front of our faces right now as I say that. My apologies. Adecoba on the circuit and giving it the hustle for number 1 right now for Spain. Looks like he is going through that middle to end sector, the Fagnas, and down into the campus, or Stavalos, or whatever you want to call them nowadays. Of course, these corner names here at Spa change every 5 minutes, it seems, but Adecoba here, not too concerned what the name of the corner is. He just cares which direction it goes and how he can maximize his speed through it.
Yep, so Campus Corner is named as such for the Institute of Technology. It follows after that in through to Stavelo, and then you got the curve of Paul Fred just before Blanchimont. Adnan Grosdanic, haven't seen him in a hot minute, but a driver who has basically been the Bosnian bridesmaid, I think is the best way to call it right now, over the course of this series. He has been searching for results, and you know what his port of call has been? Well, the results aren't there, so I'll move to 5-Star.
And currently, I mean, to be fair, he's sitting down 8th in the championship at the moment. He does have himself secured for a spot in Laguna Seca. However, it is still 2 races away. We're in that penultimate round, and there is still 1 more to come after this, of course, next month. We will be heading over to Interlagos as well as Rudskogen. And Interlagos, of course, one of the best tracks to finish a championship on. That is going to be extremely exciting as well. But in the meantime, we have Spa, of course. This is the track out here tonight for these MX5s to tackle. And Jake, we were mentioning it off broadcast, but this is going to be a bit of a draft fest, is what you predict.
Yeah, this is going to be all about holding on to momentum. You've got a wonderful overtaking zone up the Kemmel straight into Lake Coombe. You've got a great chance towards the end of these races, heading through out of Stavilo and over towards the final chicane out on track. You can really get a sense of what this can be, and it's a near 3-minute lap here in this race. So you've definitely got a long time to think about where you want to be placing it. And Philip Scriffignano, who we focus on right now, was, of course, here, and now he's back and he's out on track. And he will be looking to try and show everybody out there at the moment why he is quick and what sort of time he can put down on the board. On his day, Scriffignano is someone who can be up in the top level, but he is a hot and cold style driver out there, Mike, and that is why he's down in 15th. Sometimes he's up there and he's one of the best in the world. Other times, you might say he's fighting for a top 20, top 30.
Yeah, we'll see how he does here tonight, and sitting, as you said, in 15th in the championship right now. Can he improve that as he comes now into the bus stop chicane? You mentioned these were public roads used until, well, the bus stop they got rid of in about 2000, but still through he goes and on to the start-finish straight. Now, what are we going to have? The first time on the board for Philip Scriffignano, and it is, of course, fastest at a 2:48.7.
Well, it would have been if it counted. He was not. He went off the road, and as such, because he had an off track on his lap, that lap time is not going to be there and is not going to be good enough. Grozdanic, though, still holds station with what he wants. Michael Chase was very quick when it came to practice out there, but he might have caught a draft. He's fifth fastest with his time on a 2:49.8. It's Grozdanic from Goebel, from Dylan DaCosta currently, as your field sits. It's not the end of the world if you get a bad qualifying. You just need to make sure that the field sets up in a way that you can be happy with, as we watch Edward Gross out there on his lap, hoping that he's going to find what he needs in his qualifying effort. And as he makes his push over towards the line, Joel Singleton has just gone fifth fastest. Ade Koba goes quickest, and Gross puts a 50.9 down, which is good enough for about 15th position at the moment. Cooper, a 48.8, good enough only for the second row, and it's 3 5-star cars again surrounding Ade Koba at the moment. Per Sandberg coming to the line. Can he rock something up? 49.3, 8th place.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'm just paying attention to here, over the course of a nearly 3-minute lap, these drivers, 4.3 miles, 7 kilometers, or as I said earlier, about 1,700 MX5 cars bumper to bumper. They are within the blink of an eye down to the top 4 drivers, all separated within 0.2 of a second. These are incredible margins, and again, over the course of such a long circuit, the fact that these drivers can be so pixel perfect and within such tight margins of each other's goes to show the racing that we're going to have tonight. And that's not even to mention the fact that the mid-pack is in a similar boat as well. Look at 7th, 8th, and 9th. Bremer, Singleton, and Sandberg all within tens of thousandths of a second of each other, and more joining the conversation.
Lincoln Fox goes 7th quickest there, just behind Jack Veazey. It will be a quick field that's in and around searching. Likes of Melvin Tynes just put a time down on the board. So Michael Tanagretta of the organisation's hoping for something. Christian Hinge, the driver in front, is hoping to find a bit of time as well. Hinge has crossed the line. He's put a 50.8 down. That's good enough for 19th position on the grid for him. That splits him between Edward Gross and Alexandre Longo. But as Michael Tanagretta makes his way through the final section, I don't think there's enough time for Tony Wallace to find a way to go through. He's still on his outlap, so he won't be able to finish any time he starts. This will be the final time that will count, and Michael Tanagretta comes to the line with a 51.3. That is the 12th row of the grid there in 24th position. So 40 drivers here today looking to put their times on the board, and currently 33 of them have set what they want. But car 1, P1, Ade Koba for Simify Esports finds himself right up at the pointy end as he's got his qualifying all sorted with a nice, neat bow. That will nicely take us over to the Simify starting grid for today's racing at the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Simify is your one-stop shop for all of your sim racing gear. You can choose from iconic brands and mix and match for the best way to get the leg up on your competition. Simify is a company that ships worldwide, and they also have 2 sim racing centres in Madrid and in your head on down to the link in the description of the YouTube video to make sure you can get up all your sim racing purchases today with us. Wonderful work is about to set itself into motion as the build up. It is El Capitan Fantastico on pole. Adekola with 248.7 has Adnan Grostanic, the company on the front row. Girl will have dark cars in 2, 3, and 4. Dylan Da Costa is 5th, along with Jack Veazey, who will be in position number 6. 7th will belong to Lincoln Fox with Ewan Bremer in 8th position. Joel Singleton will line up 9th, along with Per Sandberg. He will finish out the top 10.
Moving on to 11th, Michael Chase is going to be the one to take that throne, with the likes of Albert Palahi behind in 12th. Nuno Ferreira, 13th quickest overall, with Lawrence Denowden in 14th position here tonight. 15th belonging to Tom West, and 16th to Peter Hossens, with Ronald Munz behind in P17. 18th here belonging to Alexander Longo, with Christian Hinch in 19th, and rounding out your top 20 is Eduardo Gross.
Yep, so Edward Gross finding himself there in the top 20. Over the page is Charles Kellyman and Matt Tempest. Willem van Rassel and Michael Tanagretta are on row 12 ahead of Pedro Marimon and Kale Cavisto. Mick Robinson will start from 27th. Melvin Tyne will give chase in 28th as Patrick Alders and Mackenzie Mann house row 15.
On to the next row, we have 16th row belonging to Thomas Martinez, with Martin Smith Company for him. Peter Reed in 33rd position overall, with Stefan Elder Company in 34th. Phyllis Griffiniano, no time on the board, with Miles Owens as well down in 36th. Lawrence Sebastian, no times. Matthew Camus, no time. Renee Zagular down in 39th with no time. And last but not least, down in 40th is Tony Wallace.
It's going to be a long 25 minutes around here. That much we can mark our words as the last of the drivers look to grid themselves up. They have 10 seconds or they will have to be in pit lane. They are the traditionally cool conditions here in iRacing that they run some default settings which are there. This is round 9 at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Lights are on, lights are out, and it's an absolute stormer of a launch then from Nicholas Goebbels, as he looked to launch then towards last source, but he backs out of it and allows Adnan Grostanic the ability to challenge through the opening corner as 5-star look to play ball with each other. Everyone else looks to fan on in behind at the new and improved Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Plenty of gravel to go around for everybody. A beach party that will go in his single file through the majority in the field until you get to Michael Chase and Co, who are 3, now going to 2 wide up through Eau Rouge and Radion.
Someone has to give. 2 wide through Eau Rouge Radion is a deadly spell, and we'll see if most drivers make it through. It seems that behind everybody is mostly nip and tuck, with the occasional driver poking out of the slipstream, and there is the carnage and the chaos at the end of Lacombe. The back drivers, that's the 22 getting involved, as well as a few others. Cars squabbling off to the left and right as everyone just tries to get their head on their shoulders and wonder what the heck is happening. Everybody else up front, though, not too bothered about it as the racing continues into Lacombe. Alexander Longo there ahead of what looks to be Thomas Martinez. No, I'm looking in the wrong spot anyways, as they continue down towards Bruxelles.
Yeah, it's a tough start to this race for a number of drivers, and this is the sort of race where if you gap the pack and the gap starts to develop, it's very tough to pull back. The top of the hill is a notorious choke spot, and Patrick Alders found himself slap bang in the middle of it. Absolute accordion that came through, and it was a case of where do you go up the top of the hill? It's a tale as old as time up the highest rise in motorsport.
Yeah, an incident that we've seen quite a few times over the years, and unfortunately is one that is very difficult to avoid. It's just the high-speed nature of those corners, but thankfully everybody in the front managed to make it through, because if that incident happens for Adnan Grosdanic and Niklas Göbel, the rest of the field has an absolute heyday to make it on through. But either way, we didn't see that. The battling up front very much nip and tuck. You mentioned it. The 5-star cars all playing ball with each other right now and following team orders, it seems, to try to maximize their best result. But there is going to be Ade Koba trying to take the position back from Göbel as they go down the back stretch.
Yeah, and Niklas Göbel, of course, came to blows with Ade Koba last time, or not last time, so to speak, but a number of times ago at Sonoma. Those two look at each other and think, oh, I want to beat you out there on circuit. And Ade Koba making sure that he challenges the 5-star machine as he looks to the inside of the chicane. And there will be a little bit of a push back here from Göbel through the final corner, but he's got no drive on the exit. Oh, spin behind. Jason Cooper has gone around at the final section. He's tagged the wall there on the outside, and he'll be able to continue on. A big hit for him. Look at how far it drops him. It drops him to the likes of Roel Moons, for example, Pieter Hossens, my word.
That is gutting, unfortunately, there for Cooper. The 5-star team needed their rear gunner, and it looked to be an unforced error. It's hard to tell from what the camera angle we had. We didn't get to see it. But here is Erwin Bremer side by side down the Eau Rouge Radion complex. But again, somebody has to give, and this time Erwin Bremer does win out, and he manages to secure the position over the number 12.
Yeah, Bremer there in the SimRace Sweden car is hoping that he can get this long launch on the straight, and everyone's looking to draft. Look at the front, they are bump drafting. Adnan Grosdanic getting the push from Ade Koba, wanting to build that gap away from Niklas Göbel, having none of it though is Göbel, followed by Dylan da Costa, the Frenchman, who is there behind. Jack Veazey, the bridge to the divide with Fox and Bremer and Singleton and Sundberg and Michael Chase. It is 10 at the front of this field, hoping they can find themselves an opportunity to make it happen. Marimon taking the escape road.
A bit of a joker lap there for Pedro Marimon, and unfortunately that is not going to be too much of a laughing matter for the Spanish driver. He rejoins the circuit all the way back in 33rd. A bit of work to do. Let's take a look and see exactly what unfolded with that Jason Cooper incident. And it does look like he was, in fact, assisted by Niklas Göbel.
I wouldn't have said that's Göbel, that was more Dylan da Costa, I think, that's tagged him from behind. So da Costa getting himself caught into the accident. So the Frenchman then tiptoeing his way through into 4th position, going, did I do that? Oops, sorry, mate. And now finding himself where he needs to. Train now needs to behave, and this is where it gets very interesting in terms of where you want to be. We've seen a lot of pack mentality races this season. No doubt last time out of Phillip Island proved that much, but how do you work the pack from back there in about 10th position when you've got Ade Koba, who has been lightning at the front, and Adnan Grosdanic, who has been maybe the unluckiest driver in this series never to win a race?
Yeah, to be fair, I was going to ask you that question, Jake, but we'll see what these drivers do decide to come up with. Ade Koba looking to make it a P1 here as he checks to the inside. He's just keeping in that rearview mirror of Grosdanic, but a send and a half from the number 6, Niklas Göbel, round the outside. Is he going to make it a 2-for-1 special? No, not this time. In fact, he's going to struggle to make it even one. Ade Koba keeps their foot in it on the run down to the first corner, and Niklas Göbel, despite the fact that he caught Ade sleeping, that was not enough, and Ade Koba even thinking about a move into the first corner himself onto Grosdanic.
Well, Grosdanic's rear bumper says it all. He's got zero luck technologies on the back, but he is needing all of the luck he can possibly muster being at the front of this field. This is very much like you see in road race cycling right now, where effectively Adnan Grosdanic is a domestique right now, working to try and get this group away, and then they will start racing amongst themselves. Here comes the push for Ade Koba. Göbel's gonna make it 3 wide. Will there be a 4 wide push, or does Grosdanic take a push? He does. Watch out for Jack Veazey. Will he try and push Niklas Göbel through? They will. 5-star are dueling their way up the Kemmel, and Göbel will get what he wants. Ade Koba shuffled back to 5th.
Adekoba really just caught with no helping hand there. The rest of the drivers around them all had that bump draft assistance, and Ade, with no slipstream, with no other engine to help them get pushed along, drops all the way down to 5th position, losing 4 pretty much for 1. Or 3. Here is a replay of Martin Smith, who is going to be having a bit of visibility issues out on track, it seems, right now.
That's huge. We don't often see it like that. That reminds me of Marco Marin back in the early 2000s, early mid-2000s World Rally Championship, who was able to win his rally race out there when the bonnet flew up on the final stage of the rally. So it's very similar for Martin Schmidt, who hit the brakes. The catch has obviously failed on the car from the contact that he's had so far, and ultimately he's able to get himself back sorted again. So that was a big moment for him in his race, but he'll now be hoping to try and charge forward. Veezy now up into 3rd, another driver who's yet to pick up a victory in this series, such as being the strength of drivers over the 2 years we've had the Simify MX5 World Sim Series, and we've had some legendary drivers here. Pablo Espez, for example, who's at the FIA Motorsport Games this weekend. You got the likes, of course, of Jaume Dalmases, who's come to play. You got Adekoba, Nicholas Goebel, you've got Jason Cooper, you've got so many great drivers, but Jack Veezy wants some time at the front, and he moves to the lead, heading through Blanchimont.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a dicey one as well, as behind we see cars squabbling for positions as well. Is that going to be Fox on the outside? I think it is. Fox going for a move now towards DaCosta.
Oh, no way.
Will he find that inside? No, but side by side, Nicholas Goebel fights Veezy back, but Veezy's gonna have the inside for the first corner, and by the time it looks like he has the momentum, he has the run, and now first position is firmly secured, despite the fact that he had already won it one time. Now he has to win it a second, and can he hold on? The Slipstream Fest will continue.
So all of that has happened. Adnan Grozdanic, I think, has had the plug pulled on his internet, and he is out of this race. And that just goes to show you how desperately unlucky he's been. Lincoln Fox is getting a push right now into Eau Rouge as he deals with Bremer up the inside, and Michael Chase. They've got to be careful because they'll lose the 4 in front, and they can't afford to lose those 4 in the front of this field. It's now 8 at the front, and they're pushing along the main straight because now it is a case of Nicholas Goebel getting the push from what is going to be Dylan DaCosta, and he's got to be quite alert to that. Adekoba moves up into 3rd. Dare I ask if you want to be 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th onto the Camel if you go onto the last lap?
Yeah, I have no idea how these drivers are going to strategize this and try to pick their battles where they can end up finding a favorable one for themselves. It might be down to the certain parts of the tracks that the other drivers are worse at. Here's a replay, though, of that kerfuffle. We're actually looking at Alexander Longo, who gets shoved off and a high-speed collision to the barrier. Are we going to rejoin the circuit? Yes, we are, but thankful. Oh, no, there are cars coming. Oh, goodness. There's a chicane in the middle of the chicane, and that's never a good sight.
No, Lekum into Malmedy. You do not want to be caught up in that, and that's exactly what happened. Disastrous there for Longo, who caught himself through the middle of the corner, spearing into the barriers, and dramatic to say the least. Goebel now taking his toll on the front of the field as the German, with DaCosta behind and Adekoba. Jack Veezy hoping to put himself in the mix. Fox and Bremer and Chase and Joel Singleton on the back. Michael Chase might be the one driver who's looking at this thinking, I need every place I can get, because he's in one of the lowest grid stalls possible for the world final at Laguna Seca. He's trying to build some bluster.
He certainly is, and can he do it here? As we have the run towards Blanchimont, the long ways to go, and there we see a potential change for the lead. Here we have side-by-side at the very least between DaCosta. No, DaCosta is in the lead now, and we see the number 1 of Koba trying to go onto the outside as well. This is going to be regular. Keep in mind the leader just doesn't have the slipstream, doesn't have the advantage, so we'll be seeing a lot of this with changing of the positions at the front. Who's going to get the win to the line, though, this time? If only this was the last lap. My goodness, I have a prediction, though, that the last lap isn't going to look much different than we see right now.
Well, I don't think it will, and they've got to be careful on how they battle at the front, because it's only 4 seconds back to the likes of Jason Cooper. If they play too many games, Cooper's dragging Palahi, Hinch, then Alden, Hussens, Tempest and Gross back with them. So there are 7 cars that want to join the 8 that lead, and it very much relies on these drivers playing games with each other. I would keep an eye out as Bremer goes side by side again at Eau Rouge, loves that inside line, and make sure that Joel Singleton has to sit and wait. I keep an eye on the last lap on Lincoln Fox. He was so late on the brakes on that first time he went for it, as now at the front, here goes Ade Koba. He's not going to sit and wait, and now either side, like it's Schumacher and Hakkinen against Zonta, tries Nicholas Goebel, hoping to get to the inside of El Capitan Fantastico, and he can't quite get there, so Ade takes his rightful spot as car number 1 in this field, at the front of the field. This is going to be a tough race, but it's about who's bravest through the final chicane.
It really is. It's down to these last laps. Every lap matters, obviously. You need to stay alive and you need to stay within this pack. But if you do manage to stay within this pack all the way down to the white flag, that is when I think the gloves are going to come off, to put it lightly. It's already been a knife fight in a phone booth, and I would expect even more.
Well, this is all about jostling here, the middle stage of this race, trying to get into the right position to attack in the later stages. Kalle Kavisto further back in the middle of a big train here. Laurent Sebastian at the front. Nuno Ferreira's there. So too is Kalle Kavisto, Willem van Rassel, Matteo Camus, Michael Tannegretta, Mick Robinson, and Charles Kellyman. So this one goes all the way back. These are for top 20 points as Camus dives down the inside with a bit of blinking and gets Van Rassel caught napping at Pouon.
Tannegretta trying to find himself a opportunity of the likes there. Doesn't quite get to the inside of anyone. He has to sit and wait. Michael Tannegretta sitting 32nd overall right now in the championship, looking for a top 20 result, as you had mentioned here. He's got to be aggressive. He's got to go for it early, as you know. There are so many opportunities that arise here. You need to just kind of reach for him every now. I mean, he's had a couple good moments. Here we see, though, this is the fight of a century, an absolute melee as we continue to go 3 wide, potentially, into the bus stop.
Well, Da Costa now takes his turn, moving to the front of the field, and he takes it away from Nicholas Goebel, with Ade Koba still holding the point. Bremer trying to sneak up through. He has a big slide behind and can't catch up with Jack Veazey. So Veazey holds on to the place. Bremer, with that massive slide of oversteer as he was trying to put the power down, means that he falls back into line. Singleton and Chase are just sitting there, the 2 Americans, hoping that they can find a way through a little bit later on, as we're now down to 10.5 minutes in this race, or as I put it, 4 laps.
Yeah, this is where the gloves really start to come off the drivers. They need to secure themselves into the positions, as you said, to set yourself up for that final lap. This is basically the long game for especially Spa here. We mentioned the slipstream fest that goes on, the position changes that are required. Here is Bremer going for a move onto Veazey. Veazey, though, parking it dead center of the track, and Bremer just really gluing himself to the bumper like a license plate there with not much of an intention. Is he going to have a late send? No, he just elects to stay there. Same story cannot be said, though, for the top 3. Nicholas Goebel trying to get onto Ade Koba. Ade Koba, though, drops the position to Da Costa.
Yep, so Dylan Da Costa, who very nearly overshot the corner, and Albert Palahi, speak of the devil, round at Les Combes, and around he goes. Ade Koba's just moved back to the front of the field, down the hill at Bruchel, but big dramas are net behind. Nuno Ferreira in trouble, and he'll go around, and pandemonium sparks again.
And the number 13 is what that looked like, trying to reverse, getting caught up, a big puff of tire smoke, and very unlucky for Wilhelm there, who just has to return to the garage. Was an innocent passenger for Van Russell, and I think that is going to be a very upset driver that just got taken out, unfortunately.
Well, Nuno Ferreira has a lot of points, but not a lot of luck. And it was 2 separate incidents. So Christian Hinch just pinched down on Albert Palahi, got himself caught up in the wrong position. And when Ferreira came through the middle of the corner, he got caught between the curb and Mathieu Camus, and as such went straight back across, and then everybody started to scramble. Laurent Sebastian just about avoiding major traumas out there in terms of the race, but Pieter Hossens now finding himself then profiteering from a little bit, but he's dropped back a bit because Edouard Gross found himself a way through, and Hossens, of course, was very much near what was happening as that dropped back. Da Costa challenging for the race lead will move back to the front, and Dylan Da Costa, another driver searching for a first win in the Simify MX5 World Sim Series. Lincoln Fox searching for a first win. Jack Veazey searching for a first win. So too for Bremer, who almost gets run over as he goes through the middle of the corner. Michael Chase as well, looking so too. Joel Singleton. The only two drivers who have picked up a win in this group are cars 1 and 6, Ade Koba and Nicholas Goebel, and you put them both as favourites with the way they tactic.
I am just smiling ear to ear right now as I have goosebumps on my goosebumps for what is going to happen in this race. Here's Bremer trying to defend, I think, from what looks to be Singleton, yes, onto the outside there, and Singleton's actually behind. That is Chase. Michael Chase actually is putting pressure on him. Michael needs to chase Chase. He's going to hurry up on, that's for certain. And currently 1.5 seconds off the back of VZ. He needs to get back to that slipstream, get back to the bumper if he wants a chance for a podium later on. Dylan Da Costa all over him again now, or Da Costa leading Goebel onto the bumper, and Koba slips into the rear there as we got back markers now from one of the 5 stars, it looked like.
That was Melvin Tyne actually out there, so Tyne getting out of the way, not necessarily 5-star, but he was certainly trying to stay out of trouble and just about managed it. That would have helped the collusion in the group, as Da Costa said, everyone's single file behind me. Goebel now second, Koba third, Lincoln Fox just watching this one from 4th position, not wanting to throw any dramatics in at the moment. VZ 5th, Chase in 6th, Bremer 7th, and Singleton just happy to sit on the back in 8th. Jason Cooper, by the way, is in 9th place. He's been working on his own. He's actually shed the group behind, but he's stuck at 4 seconds off this group. This is agonizing for Jason Cooper. He can't affect the front group.
Which is really unfortunate because Cooper a 249.9 compared to the 250 from Da Costa. So he's actually faster than everybody on track right now, barring Lincoln Fox, one of the drivers, Jake, that you had your eye on for the very end. So this is gonna get very exciting and very quickly. We're on lap 7 right now and predicted to have 9 laps for these drivers. And as we go back to the back stretch now, I expect to see a couple position changes.
Well, this is where you're going to start thinking about where you want to be. They'll be looking at 2 laps to go when they cross the line, and Ade Koba on cue is going to start making that push, and we saw him do it against 3 5-star cars a month ago at Phillip Island. He knows where to place himself at the right time, and the Simify Esports driver is looking for it again. Now to the outside, are we going to fan 3 wide? Lincoln Fox is trying to make a pivot on the outside. VZ back down to the inside, and Fox again, later than anybody, might just try and sweep the lot around the outside. Is he showing his hand with that? Da Costa to the point. Lincoln Fox to second, but here comes Goebel again with 2 to go.
Prioritizing a little bit of aggression over adhesion there was Lincoln Fox, but he still made up a couple positions. But now, though, Ade Koba has the inside line, and with the car in front, it's going to be very difficult for Fox to slide back into the position ahead there. And exactly as said, he has to slide in behind. Going now down the Eau Rouge Radion complex one more time, well, for a few more times tonight, we have the likes of Ade Koba under pressure right now from Lincoln Fox behind. Jack Veazey also making his threat known in this conversation. Michael Chase, again, trying to keep up.
Well, these are the drivers you look at and say they are going to be the main players of the game. Koba's trying to force 2 tyres from Lincoln Fox as he pushes up the Kemmel for a way through. Nowhere to go. 3 wide, almost 4 as they run up in towards Lake Coombe. It's Da Costa and Fox, and Lincoln Fox, the slyest of the lot, trying to go through. Da Costa holds his nerve, and Malmedy and Ade Koba trying to pull himself in with 4 minutes to go. Oh, this is fantastic. Still for the race lead side by side as they head down towards Bruxelles. Da Costa on the inside line is going to get what he wants. Here comes Ade.
Adekoba, though, to the outside of No Name. This is going to be the unfavorable line in Lincoln Fox. He does secure one position. Dylan DaCosta, he knows the pressure is on. The question that I'm going to be asking myself, and Lincoln might be as well, is he overdriving the car? Are tires going to play a role at the end of this race just due to the fact that he is on full send mode right now, trying to switch it back through Blanchimont? Adekoba got the better run, but look at the heads-up decision-making from Lincoln Fox. He has the outside line, though, and will have to pretty much give that up. And now with Nicholas Goebel coming in, is he going to be able to hold that? It looks like for now, but how long is the question, Jake?
Well, how much do they want to play this game? They give 6/10 to Dylan DaCosta out there in front, and how much are they going to make Adekoba work for it? Lincoln Fox giving a huge dilemma to the leaders.
He certainly is, and DaCosta looking for his first win, as you had mentioned tonight. Adekoba wants to spoil that party more than anyone else, and we'll see. Lincoln Fox wants to join himself in the Winners Club as well. Side by side, though, right now with Nicholas Goebel. Goebel to the outside of the bus stop. If he can keep it alongside for long enough, he'll have the inside run. It's a hip check through Blanchimont, and now looking for the braking zone. Lincoln Fox got a much better run, has the inside line, which should be favored, but he's going to get boxed out a little bit onto the apex. There's no way for him to turn in. He has contact there through the final corner. Lincoln Fox, though, keeps the advantage somehow.
Well, with a lap to go, Fox is now looking to try and pivot. 0.6 of a second is not enough coming out of a Stavilo corner to give you what you need to survive, and wide in the gravel goes Lincoln Fox, and suddenly Nicholas Goebel has another attempt. You look behind that, Jack Veazey trying to corral the troops with Michael Chase, Ewan Bremer and Joel Singleton side by side as well, battling up through now, Eau Rouge and into Radion. Lincoln Fox does not want to give this up with Nicholas Goebel, and Goebel just needs some calm because he needs to get up to Adekoba. El Capitan is on the charge and is looking at the Kemmel at a helpless Dylan DaCosta, and DaCosta can't do anything about it, so he'll lose the lead on the Kemmel. But remember, he's got Stavilo to the chicane to try and follow behind for his first maiden win. Up at Lakecoombe, hip check, spin behind, travels, and it's going to be Michael Chase out of contention. Front goes then off of the west side of Jason Cooper, and he'll have to try and continue on. What a shame for Michael Chase. He was looking at some big boys. The group has disintegrated now into 5 at the front. Joel Singleton's too far back. He's making moves a little bit too late, but Adekoba now, El Capitan Fantastico is currently there, but is he going to start playing games to say, I'm going to give it up here, heading over towards Pouon? The last place he wants to be is heading through Stavilo with the race lead, because he'll know that Dylan DaCosta will want his way through, and he will want only his way through. Lincoln Fox stalks his prey in third place. Goebel and Veazey, passengers to the battle, unless there's slipstream that can put themselves in play or dramas down at the final chicane. Through the Fania, right and then left, in towards the campus corner, the last great transfer, heavy on the brakes, goes Dylan DaCosta, who can sense it, can taste it. It's a great drive throw out to the corner though, from Adekoba in a Simify Esports car. He's given himself 0.4 of a second, but we know how important a slipstream is. Heading through towards Blanchimont corner, the fast, the ferocious, and the heroic, and now DaCosta starts to close the gap down. Lincoln Fox has been the best on the brakes, so you can't count him out. Where do you go, Dylan? Where do you go, Dylan? Look out for Lincoln Fox. He can't find a lane. Contact there between the two of them. Now it's about brakes. Who's got the most? Here goes Lincoln Fox down to the inside. Adekoba holding on the inside line. Fox can't get the drive he wants. Oh, El Capitan. Oh, El Capitan. El Dios de las Carreras. Ay, Canaria. Ay, Canaria. What a win.
Absolutely incredible. DaCosta takes home second, Jack Veazey in third, Lincoln Fox with fourth for all of his efforts around the outside. Next to the line is going to be Peter Hossens here for 13th position, but Nicholas Goebel finishing in 5th. Ewan Bremer in 6th, with 7th belonging to Singleton. Charles Kellyman scrapping it out for the bottom positions here, just into the top 20. He is going to bring home 19th position for Jamaica. Not a bad result there for sitting 24th in the championship. But my goodness, Jake, the photo finishes pretty much all the way throughout the grid. This was an incredible race.
Adekoba just knows where to put the car. It is an uncanny art, and at the moment, nobody can seem to match him in the way he does that. Da Costa did almost everything right. Lincoln Fox put himself through and lost the podium there through the final corner. Jack Veazey stole that one away by just a hundredth and a half, believe it or not. And there is the solitary figure of Adnan Grozdanic, who you look at here, Mike, and you just think he was destined to be fighting for that victory, and he cannot catch a break.
No, very unfortunate. Internet issues aside, that is not the result that you want to be having when you're sitting fourth in the championship. And for the 5-star team as well, sitting at the top of the team standings, I don't think they're in too much risk, but that is certainly not what Adnan wanted, and even some commiserations from chat showing him some love as well. 33rd is the position that he will finish in.
Yep, so that 33rd is going to be important then as they head themselves through. We'll get confirmation then of result here to you in the Simify MX5 World Sim Series. Adekoba is just having the autumn of his life. A victory by 0.2 of a second over Dylan Da Costa, who threw everything he could to try and get his first win of the series, and ultimately he just falls short. Jack Veazey will steal a podium away from Lincoln Fox, who looked like he was going to be the one on the brakes, who was always going to throw the nearest challenge, just falls short there in his efforts as Nicholas Goebel takes a consistent 5th place ahead of Ewan Bremer and Joel Singleton, who fell a little bit further behind. Jason Cooper was able to charge on closer. He finished off in 8th place, with Christian Hinch finding himself in 9th, a gain of 10 places over the course of the race, and the top 10 rounded out by Michael Chase, who found himself spun around on the final lap.
And Lawrence Den out in there, kind of picking up the rest here for 11th position, with Albert Palahi company for him in 12th. Peter Hossens coming home in 13th overall tonight, just 18 seconds off the good, and pretty much right behind Albert Palahi as well. Edward Gross in 14th position, with Matt Tempest 15th overall. We have Matthew Camas in 16th with Cali Caviso, in 17th Pedro Marimon, in 18th with Charles Kellyman company in the top 20, and rounding out your top 20 is Peter Reed.
Over the page to the 3rd page of results, Michael Tannegretta half a minute off your overall race winners, with Mick Robinson and Ronald Mones 22nd and 23rd. Tony Wallace then leads home Stephen Elder, as Mackenzie Mann would be the first of those a minute down, ahead of Per Sandberg and Laurent Sebastian in 28th position. Alexandre Longo would be 29th, ahead of Philip Scriffignano, who had it all to do with his qualifying effort and could only manage 30th place, a gain of 5.
And as for the rest of the field, we had William Van Russell, who we saw with that spin early on. Miles Owens behind him in 32nd. Adnan Grozdanic, the final driver to finish without being a lap down. Tom Weston, he was a lap down in 34th. Melvin Tuyen in P35, with Nuno Ferreira 36th. That is not a great result, unfortunately, for the Portuguese driver. Thomas Martinez in 37th as well, with Patrick Alders in 38th. 39th for Martin Smith. And last but not least on the grid, Rene Zegler.
Yeah, Rene Zegler finding himself then in the wrong position then for this race, all the way down at the very, very back of the field. So I would say there was a lot to try and understand and dissect with the very important runs that they had going forward. But how on earth do you stop a driver of the caliber and of the quality of Adekoba, Mike? Because he has been pretty much sat down saying, you know what, I can do this, I can find it, there is everything that I can possibly throw in at the board, but nothing seemed to stick out there for anyone else who could throw it. Adekoba is the master of right place, right time, and that comes from a decade of top-end level sim racing experience.
It really is, you know, and Dylan Da Costa and Lincoln Fox, they gave him a run for his money. They did everything they could in their cards to try to dethrone the Capitan, but no, he isn't, of course, that fantastico. Adekoba absolutely never failing to deliver, and I thought that he was sold. I thought he was done. I'm going to be completely honest. I wasn't sure he could hold on that final lap, but no. Dylan Da Costa, Jack Veazey, Lincoln Fox, Nicholas Goebel, they just didn't quite have the last little bit to dethrone Adekoba.
Well, they're looking for a way to dethrone Adekoba. I think there aren't many drivers who can, and those who can found themselves with a bit of bad luck today. Predominantly, the 5-star cars couldn't close it down for a second consecutive show. Want to give a massive thanks to everyone who gets this done for us here today with the Global Sim Racing Channel, from the crew here today, from Mike, from Dougie, and as well from Daniel, who has been there in the director's chair doing Godsend's work. Want to give a massive thanks to all of the equipment and software that we have used over the course of this show today to get this show over to you, including the likes of vMix, Discord, Apgeneer, iRacing, of course, where we've been having this show, and the music from June Lalonde, which you can catch on Bandcamp if you haven't had the chance to already. Of course, you can use your Simify link down in your YouTube description. That will give you a little bit of a discount when it comes to sim racing products. That's always going to be something that you're going to want to do and get your next leg up on top of some of your other sim racing competitors. But there are so many great and amazing shows which are coming up on the horizon. You can catch us on our social media. If you haven't had the chance to already, go to our website or even get a bit of merch from our merch store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We've got 2 great races coming up to finish the season. Round 10 of 10. Rudskogen awaits the club series. It's Interlagos, arguably the greatest battling circuit that the world has ever produced, which will be there November 24th is where you wait, and where you wait to see how on earth do you stop one Mr. Adekoba. Da Costa, he tried to throw his hat into the ring. You look around, Jack Veazey, Lincoln Fox, Nicholas Goebel, Jason Cooper, Adnan Grozdanic. It doesn't matter who your name is. El Capitan Fantastico may just be El Dios de las Carreras Sim. And now we sit and say, who stops him when we head to Interlagos, and who stops Christian Bissarov when we head, of course, to Rudskogen? Race clean, race hard. We'll see you in November.